Hi everybody! Welcome to my live. Today we are going to be coloring. So let's go ahead. I want to show the book first that I'm going to be using. And that is this, it's called Cute Chibi Creature Coloring. And it says color over 60 adorable creatures, illustrated by Phoebe I'm. This is what the cover looks like. This is the back. And we can go ahead and flip through it some so we can see it. It has really cute pictures. I've already colored a few, so you can, well, I say few. I've colored 2 out of here so far. But it just has that. This is one that I've colored so far. That's the first one that I colored. So this is kind of the style that we're going to be doing today with alcohol markers. So you can see they bleed through, so you have to use a paper in between. So here's just what these pages look like. They're really cute. I won't flip through the whole book, but I'll show you most of it. Unless somebody joins and wants to see the whole thing. So I'll go ahead and just flip a couple of pages through. Just a couple more pages. This is the next one that I colored. So this is the second one in the book that I've colored. Those were the only 2 that I've colored. So this one, and I colored this one. So these are the only 2 that have been colored in here so far. So they're just really cute pictures, and they're perfect for, you can do so many different things with these pages because there's just so much space. So you can add, you can just color it one color. You could add maybe a little bit of texture. You could maybe do some patterns. So there's some more of the book. I think that's cute. That's so cute. There's a couple of like mermaid ones towards the back. I love the mermaid ones. See, like that. I love it. I love that. Some more mermaids. I think we should color a mermaid tonight. Unless you guys saw one that you'd prefer better. But I think that these mermaid ones are so cute, so I think we should do that. This one, there was one that kind of looked like Jasmine. I might have already passed it. See, like how much space there is on the pages. You can do so much. Again, you can make it a single color. You could put patterns. You could put textures. There's so many options that you can do with just the space on these pages. Sorry for my dog. So anyways, so that's pretty much the end of the book. So let's pick a page. Let's see here. Like I said, I want to do one of the mermaid ones. So let's see. Those are this way. See, like this one reminds me of Ursula. So I think we should do this one. Okay, before I start though, I want to show the markers that I'm going to be using. So the markers that I'm going to be using are these Copic sketch markers. If it'll focus, maybe there. So these are the Copic sketch markers. So it has a brush tip on one side. And then it has a chisel tip on the other side. So before we get started, let's do some swatches of these colors. I might have to get the remote. Hold on. Bandit, stop it. Okay. So let's do some swatches. So these are a couple of swatches that I've done so far when I was coloring before. So as you can see, they're so pretty. They're so smooth. They're just beautiful, vibrant colors. They blend so well. So I'll show you how they look when I actually use them. So I like to personally use the brush tip, and I just like the brush tip. You can use the chisel tip for maybe like more precise lines, because obviously the difference, as you can see, so you can use that, tip to get really detailed if you wanted. But also you could get detailed with this because it's got a fine tip on the chisel side. So I'll show you how this looks. So, oh, maybe I should put the top on that so I don't get it all over me. So you can see already just how pretty that is. So here. So you can see how nice. It's just so beautiful. I love that color. So what you can do is you can make it actually, so you can let that dry for a second. And then let's get another color. Let's get purple. Here's a beautiful purple. I love that. So let's look at this one. So look at that purple. So pretty. So pretty. And this is number V04 Lilac. And this blue one is BG15, are these colors specifically. So what you can do is, see, once it dries, you can actually go over it with another layer. And it will make the same color, but darker. Love how it just goes on top of it. It blends perfectly. It's beautiful. So let's go ahead and let's get started on our picture. Okay, so with these alcohol markers, you really need to put a sheet behind your coloring sheet, or it will bleed onto the next page and you will not get to color the next page. So we're going to do this one that looks like Ursula. And let me see if I can bring you guys a little closer. Maybe that'll be better, I think. Okay. So, hold on. Let's see if we can reach just a tad closer. Okay. Angle it down a little bit. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Maybe. Once we get color on the page, we'll be able to see better. Okay. So I think, even though it looks like Ursula, I don't want to do this black. I want to do this colored. And I'm thinking, let's do this purple. I'm thinking this purple. This one's really pretty, so let's do this one. Okay. And so when you're coloring with these, you want to make sure that you're not letting it dry before you go over it or next to it again. So you don't want to do layers over top of each other at first, because that will make the color darker than you want it at first. You can make it darker, obviously, later. And you want to move in a continuous kind of motion. You don't want to let it sit and dry, because then whenever you go back next to it, you're not going to get that smooth blend that you want. You want it to look seamless. So we're just going to keep going over all the parts. And I am going to go into these sections that are kind of, that should be maybe a little darker right here, because I want to, I'm going to color them again with this same color again over and make it darker. So you'll see what I'm talking about when I get to it. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is, I think I'm actually going to go over this with a lighter purple as well. So you can see this is a pretty light purple. This is color BV0000. It's called Pale Thistle. So just a really light purple. And again, the brush tip so you can see. And I'm just going to go, I'm going to go over this again, like with this one, because it just, you can do that and it blends the color just so nicely. And you can also go over it, you know, maybe with a darker color or medium, just depending on what you want out of your outcome. So you can just go over all of this with your lighter color of purple. Okay. So now what I want to do is, I kind of want to add maybe just a little bit of a pattern to it. So I'm actually, oh, you know what? We should do maybe an ombre. I think that would be cool. So I'm going to take this darker purple V09 and I'm going to kind of start to do the bottoms. Yes. And I'm going to go, oh my gosh, is this so cold? Wow, it was so cold at my house that this one actually, well, maybe this one doesn't have ink in it. This is the only one that, okay, well, I guess we're not using it then. Never mind. I guess we're going to go back to this one. V05 is what we're going to go with. Okay, well, maybe I should. Anyways. Okay, so we're going to go in with this one again. And we're going to start to just kind of feather it. I want to feather it up, so that whenever I go back, and I'm going to do it section by section. I'm not going to do the whole thing and then go back. I'm going to do it this kind of tentacle. I'm going to feather this darker. And then I'm going to take this kind of medium purple and we're going to feather. You can't hear me? Wait, can you hear me? You should be able to. I hope you've been able to hear me this whole time. Gosh. Well, I hope you can hear me. Anyways, so you want to take the medium color and you want to kind of work fast because you don't want the markers to dry before you get to the next part. So now I'm going to take lighter purple again, the lightest purple, the BB00000, and blend that into the tip of that. So this is what we've got so far up close. So as you can see, the darker purple into the middle, into it just kind of blending together. So that's what we've got so far in the first tentacle. I really hope you guys can hear me. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to make sure my volume works. Well, that you guys can hear me, I guess, not volume, but anyways, okay. So now we're gonna go to the second tentacle. I'm calling them tentacles. I don't really know if that's technically what they are, but and I'm thinking that was Ron who's commented, so okay. So now we're gonna take again the darker purple. We're gonna feather from the bottom up, and we want to go the same way. We don't want to go opposite ways. We want to go the same way. And we're going to kind of bring it to the middle here, I think. And then take medium purple. All right, Bandit, stop. My dogs love to play. And feather that right into the top, I'm thinking. Okay, and then we're going to take the light purple again and feather it right into the top of that dress. So that has a nice blend right into the top there. And you can kind of take this and, you know, just smooth out the edges if you need to. Just make sure it's all feathered together. Okay, next. Dark again. Oh, that's the chisel side. Don't want that. Feather from the bottom. And I'm going to kind of see, you can see I'm following the curve of the tentacle, because we're going to add shadows here later. And now, I'm not going to lie, I was going a little fast there for a second. So I need to slow down, because these markers are honestly, they're not a race. You have to use them carefully, because if you don't, then they're going to kind of just, they're not going to do what you want. So medium purple we're going to go in. And again, we're going section by section, because we don't want our other section to dry before we can blend it. And that's how we get a good blend. And you can go back to the darker and feather it back up into the medium if you need to get a seamless blend. And we're going to go back to the lighter. We're going to feather, feather, feather. We're going to go back to the medium. We're going to feather, feather, feather. And you're just going to kind of, you know, alternate until you get the desired result. So here is a close-up of how we are looking so far. So you can see as it's drying, it's starting to blend better. And these markers are just so pretty for blending. They're so pretty. So we've still got this one to do over here. So we're going to take dark V05 again. This is V05 is the darkest on here. From the bottom, and again, we're going to try to follow the pattern. See, might be a little awkward, but we're going to try to follow it. And then as we get to the middle, it obviously evens out a little bit, so it's not as hard to follow the pattern. Okay. V04 is our middle shade. Feather. Again, try to follow the pattern of the tentacle so that it seamlessly blends together. You can go back with the darker. And now the lighter. Oops. Just blend it right into there. And then I'm going to go over this again with the medium and the light, I think, right here. Just to blend it a little bit better with this one. Darker actually as well a little bit, just to get that seamless. But whenever you go back over it, you want to be careful because you don't want to make it too dark and so much darker than your other tentacles. Take your light one. Just blend it right in. Okay. I'm going to take this, just smooth out that top a little bit. And just drag it down from the top so that the top blends. Just going over any spots that may need it. And now here is the bottom of that. So as you can see, they're so pretty to just blend, to get that ombre effect, to just get that desired look that you're not gonna get from just normal markers at all. So let's keep going. Okay. I think we want to move on to, let's color these little guys and let's make them blue. I want to make this one, this blue, B04. Is that? And I'm going to make him this. So you want to keep going as it's wet. You don't want to let it dry, but you also don't want to move so fast that it's going to just not work with you. So I'm going to color him all in solid at first. And you want to be careful to not overlap where you had just colored in. Because again, if you overlap too much, it's going to make it too dark to where then you're going to have to color him all a second time to make him even. So, took that darker. Now I think I'm actually going to stick with this one, and I'm just going to keep using this one to show y'all how you can layer the same marker to make it darker of the same color. So I'm going to go into, so this is just one layer of this blue on here. So now I'm going to take it and I'm going to go just in these little lines right here. So see, you can see it's getting darker. See how that is already darker right there. And adds just a little bit of dimension and shadow right there. So we're going to do that to these. See already the difference just by adding those. The same color, the same marker, just the second layer on top, just in those spots. So I'm going to do the same thing, I think, right here to his head on this little dot on his head. And right here. And in the center of his nose. So, again, same marker, just layered. And you can see how seamless and how pretty that is. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep doing I'm going to do a third layer over here and see, I'm going to take it a little bit darker. So now we're going to go on a third layer on these little spots. Right here at the bottom of his tentacles, I want to give another layer to his nose and to these spots on his head. Okay, so now you can see that is one layer on his body, 3 layers on the darker spots. And I want to show you, yes, it is going through the paper, but it's not it's not peeling back here. It's not like ripping through the paper. If you were to put 3 layers of a Crayola marker on a paper, your paper would be ripping. And this is not. I mean, I'm not gonna say put 500 layers and it's not gonna rip through, but as of right now, with 3 layers, it is not. So that's that blue. This is B04. Next, I'm going to do this little guy, and let's color him. Let's do this pink. This is R43. Let's do this. So we're going to see how this looks. And I'm going to do the same thing with this marker. I'm going to use only this marker, and I'm just going to layer it. So I'm going to do one layer all over. Okay, so this is one layer all over. Spot right there, I should fill in. Okay, so now I think I'm gonna do, let's do 2 layers all over. Pull this where you can see it. So now you can see when the second layer goes on, this is when it starts to look, honestly, really good, in my opinion. That second layer just makes it look, honestly, so much better to me than just one layer. So now let's do 3 layers on body with the same color. And again, you can start to kind of see, honestly, the more layers you put on, just how, I don't know, how seamless it looks. So this is 3 layers now. And just look how pretty that is, how smooth it is. It just looks, there's no lines in it. It just looks smooth. And this is this now that it's dried a little bit. I've got a little spot right here I should fix. I need a little bit more of the medium right there. So see, that's how you can see. So you don't want to keep going and going and going when it's wet. You want to let it dry. And then you can see where you might need a little bit more color. So now I can see I need a little bit more medium purple on her little tentacle dress right here. I also, now that I'm looking at it dry, I think I'm just going to carry the medium purple up to the top of her dress too. Just to make it a little bit more seamless than it is currently. Again, you want to be careful to not, you want to feather it, or else you're going to get harsh lines and it's not going to be as seamless as you want. So now I'm going to take my dark purple again. And we're going to feather, feather, feather right up into that medium purple that we just added back in there. So you can see now colors in here a little bit better. It looks a little bit more seamless. So now we can see that our blue guy has dried. So now that he is dry, let's go back to him a little bit. So with him, again, this is color B04. So now that he's dry, I'm going to go over him completely with just another layer. The whole thing I am. Just fill him in again. And your darker areas are still going to stay darker on him because those already had more layers. And you're just going to go right over those dark areas again, too, when you're coloring him in. So that you don't have any harsh lines. Oops. Well, I went out of the lines there a little bit, but that's okay. And You don't want to be coloring in different motions. You want to go all the same way. Okay, so that's him colored in a second time, and we're going to let him dry for a second. Okay. So now let's go back to our little pink girl. And now that she's dry, let's give her some darker spots in her little dark areas. So we'll just color that in, give her some more layers in those dark areas. I'm also gonna kind of make this one a little bit darker because it's behind. So it would be shadowed. We're gonna color her little nose. Make that a little darker. Okay. Now we're going to let those dark areas dry. Okay. So while we do that, we're going to move on to something different. Let's do these little... Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to kind of give them these plants a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to go in with... I think 3 different colors on these. Yeah, I think let's do these 3. These 3 colors. So this is G09 is going to be our darkest. Our medium is YG17. And our light is YG45. Okay, so let's... You can either go darkest to lightest, or you can go lightest to darkest. It just is up to you, but let's go, let's go lightest to darkest. Okay, so we're going to start with YG45, and I'm going to start at the bottom. And I'm just going to feather up. And I'm going to color the whole thing in with this lightest green. Because we're going to build on top of this. If you were going to start with your darkest green, you would not want to color the whole thing in because you're not going to build on top of your darkest. But since we're going in with lightest, we're going to build. Okay, so we've got those colored in fully. So that's how those look colored in fully. I don't know if you can see that. So that's just one layer of YG45. Now let's go in with our medium, and we're going to take the medium and we're going to go into the spots that would naturally be shaded. So in this little top spot right there, this part, the light would be hitting this. So what you want to kind of do is you want to kind of even take a different marker and kind of put it on your paper, as this is the sun and this is the way the light is pointing. So anything that's, on this side is the shaded side. So this side is on the light. So we're going to color on this side and we're going to feather it. Feather, feather, feather. And then again, this is on the light side. So we're going to go from the bottom and feather, feather, feather. Okay, and on this one, we've got our little shadow area. And then from the bottom, I'm going to go into that curve because that should be shaded. And we're going to feather. So as you can see, it's starting to look dimensional there. It's starting to look better than just you coloring it with normal markers per se. So that medium shade was YG17. So now I'm just going to do this dark shade G09, but I'm just going to do little details of this. So I'm going to take it kind of across the bottom and just feather up just a tiny bit across the bottom. And you can take your middle shade if you need it again to help this blend. And go right over it. And that'll help it blend. And then you can take dark and just kind of go up the side of where the shadow should be. We're going to make sure to feather so that it blends. And we're going to go back with our medium and make sure we blend that right in so that we don't have any lines of colors. I'm also going to take this darkest shade and I'm going to go into this little crease right here and make that dark. Okay, so there's the difference in, I know this one's shorter so it's harder to tell, but there's the difference in 2 colors versus 3 colors. So 3 colors, 2 colors. So you can see it just adds a little bit more dimension. And again, our light was coming from this side. This is our light source coming from this side. So all of this side needed to be shaded. So let's do the other with our dark green. So from the bottom, I'm just gonna feather into the shaded areas. We're going to take our medium green. No, that's the light one. No, that's the light one. And feather. Okay. So now here's both with 3 colors. And you can see now this one's starting to dry. So you can see where I should maybe take that medium green and feather that out a little bit more. By the way, if you're watching, please say hi in the chat because I love to talk to people. So I'll talk back, I promise, if you write in the chat. I promise. I love to talk to people. But anyways, so we're going to take the medium green. Plus, this would be way funner to talk to people. So, chat it up. Anyways, medium green. So, I just want to blend it a little bit more. Not to have any harsh lines. And again, remember, the more layers you kind of put on, the ease, like the blendier it looks. You don't want to put on 1,000 layers, but if you put on obviously more than 2 layers, you're going to get a more blended look. So here's what it looks like now. So you can see it's just blending a little bit better now and gives some dimension. Okay, so there's that. So now let's color her hair. Let's give her red hair, like Ariel. So her hair. I'm just going to color it all red, and I'm going to go section by section. I'm not going to outline and then color in each section because I don't want my outline to dry before I color in my section. I want my outline and my section to dry together. So I'm going to color section by section. Hi everybody, we can talk in the chat. I'll talk back, I promise. Anyways, I am coloring section by section. And we are just doing our first layer of red on her hair right now. And then we're going to build on top of that to make it look seamless and nice. Colored a little bit of her ear, but that's okay. This is for demonstration purposes, not for perfection. Okay, so one layer of red to her hair. One layer of red, okay? So now we're gonna do the second layer so we can see the difference in one layer versus 2 layers. And as we learned before, that second layer just adds a little bit more to it. And then the third layer, in my opinion, is what really kind of seals the deal. So again, these are not like using Crayola markers at all. They blend so much better. They are so much easier to use. The colors are so much more vibrant. It's almost like painting, but with a refillable paintbrush. You don't have to keep dipping in the paint. It's just in the brush. And that's almost what this feels like because of how you can just get that look where there's no lines, there's no harsh lines in the colors, there's no white lines in the actual color. So here is layer 2 on the hair. And of course that's not dry yet, so as I said before, we've got to let it dry to really kind of see where it lays. So while we let it dry, I think on that second layer, let's take a look at the... So sorry. Let's take a look at the rest of it and see how that dried. So this had 3 layers on it. This so far, I believe, had 2 or 3 layers, but we're going to go back to her just here in a second. Here's the bottom and these little plants. So these plants have 3 colors. Her dress technically has 3 colors. So let's So now let's go back to this little pink girl right here in the corner. And, all right, let me get it to where you can see her maybe a little better right there. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're going to add a little bit of darkness to, I want to add some dimension, I think, to the top of her head. So I'm just going to go at the top of her head and I'm just going to feather a little bit of color down. Just to give a little bit darker. I'm also going to color in this little back fin to make that a little bit darker. And then I'm going to go into these little areas that should be shaded. And then also this back fin, tentacle, whatever it is. We're going to color it pink. Whatever it is, we're going to color it. Okay. And then we're going to go into her little nosy. Okay, so now this is what she looks like. So I added a little bit of dimension to her head and then into her little back fins and then this little shaded spot. So this is what we got so far. So you can just see how pretty. These are so pretty. They blend so nice. They are just beautiful and they're so easy to use. Okay. So now let's go back to her hair and let's add some dimension. So I'm going to go into these darker or these spots that should be darker and just do another layer over those. We're just gonna add, just kind of feather up a little bit of dimension from the bottom. We're gonna add this a little dimension, kind of feather from the bottom into her hair. And feather, feather, feather. And we're going to make this little dark area, or this little back area, a little bit darker so that it's got some dimension. And you're just going to kind of use your eye and see where you want the dimension. See where you like it. This is what we got going on so far. And just put it right there. I'm going to do a little bit around her face, a little dark. Just because I want to. You can do whatever you want in coloring. You do not have to follow the rules. If you don't want to, you don't have to color in the lines. Look, my lines aren't perfect. You can do whatever you want in coloring. This is your picture. This is your paper. This is your relaxation. This is your artistic freedom. You can do what you want. So if you want to make unrealistic shadows, you can do that. So that's her hair. Now let's color in. We're almost kind of done. Well, I say kind of. We've got a little bit. All right, so let's do, I guess, let's do, E11. I'm just going to pick this one up and just color her body with this. This may or may not be a great skin color, but I have so many. It's good enough. They do actually, Copic does have an actual pack for skin colors. Oops. And I went over a wet. So this is a perfect example as to why you should let it dry before you go over. So I didn't let this dry before I started coloring her face. So as you can see, when I hit the red, it took it, and I mean, it blended, but I don't want her face to be red. So that's why it's important to let this dry, move on to, like, I should have moved on to down here instead of to her body. But this is a good example as to why I worked in different areas instead of coloring all of her first and then going on to something else. You want to let it dry so that if you hit it with your next color, if you don't want it to blend, it's not going to drag it with it. But hey, I've already done it, so let's keep going. Well, actually, no, because I'm coloring over more now. All right, let's move on to the bottom. Okay, so on the bottom, we're going to make that E34. For the sand, we're going to do E34 down here. So we're going to do one layer over the bottom here. Okay, so this is one layer on the sand. So you can see, looks pretty nice, but we're gonna do more layers to make it look better, of course, because these markers look way better layered. So we're gonna go second layer. And again, you don't want to move too quickly. You want to move at a good pace. Let's go on this a little bit more. Okay, so now this is second layer. So you can see how pretty it's already starting to look with that second layer. How nice it's just laying, how blended already it is, how smooth it looks. So that's the second layer. Now let's do a little bit of E15, dark suntan. And what I'm going to try to do with this is I'm going to try to shadow underneath where she is. So you can either do that with, again, like we did with these, you can do that with the same color, or you can take a slightly, or, you know, again, this is your color, this is your page. You can take a slightly or a really dark shade. So I'm going to take this E15 because that's what I've got right here. And I'm going to shadow under where she's technically sitting. So, and I want to keep this available because I'm going to need to blend with that, my sand color. So we're just going to kind of do a rough little, this is where the shadows should be. And you want to feather it, feather it, feather it. And before it dries, you don't want to let this dry. Don't let this dry. Now you want to take your sand color and you want to go right like this, right over that darker and into your sand so that it blends together. So see, now this is immediately what it looks like when I did that. So it already looks like a pretty cool shadow. Looks like she's sitting on the sand. And how nicely that blended together. There's not really harsh lines. It just looks like a shadow. So that's what we've got so far. Cute. Okay, I think we can go to her, back to her body. Let's try. And I'm like really sloppily coloring right now, so I'm sorry, but it still looks good. Okay. I'm gonna go over her face just one more time. Blend it in. And okay, so that's what her body looks like colored in, just on one layer. Okay, so let's do our second layer. Let's do another layer on her face while we're at it. Still in the same direction that we started. We never changed directions that we're coloring in. We don't color this way and then this way. We always color the same way. I want to kind of go from her chin up a little bit because underneath her chin obviously needs to be a little more shaded. And the center of her face a little lighter. And then around her hairline and her ear, underneath her hair. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. I should do the center of her face a little bit more. Just a light little brush over. There we go. That's better. There we go. So that's her body so far. And again, this color is E11. Yep, E11. All right, let's do this little guy. Let's make him match her dress with this medium purple. This seashell. A little purple seashell. Okay. There's a little purple seashell in our sand. Oops, I missed a spot of her hair right here. Did that. Okay. So now we can do our little bubbles, and let's do our bubbles. B41 is what we're going to do our bubbles up top. Just a lighter blue. these little bubbles. They're just so pretty. These are little blue bubbles. We're going to go in with another layer. So you can see the difference in those two versus those two with 2 layers versus 1 layer. 2 layers, 1 layer. So there you can see the difference. Okay, so now they all have 2 layers on there. Let's go ahead and let's do a 3rd layer on there, just to get them as seamless as possible. Alright, so those, there they are. So now they all have 3 layers on those bubbles. Alrighty. And we're really almost done here. So the last thing that we're going to do, actually, before we do that, let's take BG15. And let's add a little dimension to these bubbles. I want to add a little dimension just because. Just because it's my coloring and I can. So I'm going to take that and then I'm going to take this one. Yeah. And just blend it in. Again, you want to take your dark color and then you want to go over it again with your lighter color so that it blends. So that I have that seamless blend. So here I did these 2 bubbles. I'm going to do these 2. Just a little dimension with BG15. I'm just flicking from the bottom just a little bit. So see, that's what it kind of looks like when I'm flicking. Just tiniest little flicks from the bottom. And then we're going to take our main color again, and we're going to go right over it. Just flick, flick, flick. Flick, flick, flick. So, there it is. You can see that little bit of dimension in there now. And those bubbles. And I think I'm going to take this same B41 and I'm going to color this little cloud. I don't know what this is. It's going to be a cloud in my coloring book. So, just gonna color right over. So as you can see, I'm just going Same direction. You want to be careful around that red. Same direction. You gotta get it at a good pace. Can't go too fast. So that's there. Again, be careful around that red because that red will drag. No matter if it's dry or not, that red will drag. So be careful around the red. Yeah, we're almost done. Okay. Here we are. That is one layer of that in this little cloud. So the last thing that I want to do is I actually want to take this white jelly roller pen right here, and I'm just going to add some little like highlights to it per se. So I'm just going to go kind of like in this lighter area where of our plant where the light hits. I just kind of want to take this white pen and I'll just kind of make a little highlight right there. A little highlight. A little highlight. A little highlight. Highlight. And we can do it, you know, a little bit through our hair if you want. Make sure you follow the way that her hair is going. Don't go an opposite way. So see, you can see. So there's a little bit of white lines in there. They just add a little bit of something. Just add a little bit of something. Take it, just do, you know. You can color his little nose white if you'd prefer. On these little guys with your gel pen. You can add some little details to your seashell right here. Again, I'm just kind of being a little sloppy right now, but add some details to your seashell. You could do some on your little dress if you wanted. So you kind of, you know, hit those little, if you wanted to do something, you know, just kind of make it your own. It's a little bit of a crooked line. That's okay. Just make it your own. You could, you know, draw scales on here if you wanted with your little pen. See? I mean, those aren't great, but you get the idea. You can, if you wanted to make him, you know, have a little pattern over him, you could do that. I'm going to give him a little squiggle pattern. Little cute boy. So see, you can, you know, give him a little pattern. If you wanted to make this maybe a little bit more like smoky or bubbly or whatever you want to, cloudy, whatever you want to call this. Give it a little, just give it a little oomph. Just a little detail here and there. Just give it a little something. So that pretty much wraps up our coloring for today. Again, this is the Cute Chibi coloring book, Creatures Coloring. I'll show you again. This is the other one that I have done in this book. Took a little bit more time on this one, obviously. And then there was one other that I have done in this book so far, and it is this one. And these were all three done with these Copic markers. These Copic sketch markers. We're all done with these. And again, just to show you one last time before we get off of here, these Copic markers have a brush tip that I prefer to use. And then these specifically have a chisel tip, but I know that they have some that have a brush tip and a fine tip at the end of it. These specifically are the chiseled. And so again, one last time, I'll show you the coloring pages so you can get the final look for the markers. First page. So you can see there's shadows in there. Got my white gel highlights. We've got our second page. We're done with the markers and our white gel pen. And then lastly, but not least, our picture we did tonight with the markers and the gel pens. I do think that most of these markers are come in packs, not individually, which is way better anyways, because you want to have, like how I did with this, with her dress, you want to kind of have the same shades of the markers so that you can use them and blend them together easily. So you've got, you know, your purples, your blues. If you were to try to find all of these individually, that would be very hard. So the packs are very easy because they give you the shades that you can use, especially just starting out and when you're building your collection, to just see the oranges. I mean, there's just different shades. So, and there's so, and you, until you kind of get into the coloring, you know, a lot of people are like, well, purple is a purple. Yes, but look at the difference in that. You know, yeah, it's purple, but that's much different than just purple. That's not just purple. So, in the same, you know, here, we wouldn't have got this look without the different colored markers. And that's why I wanted to show you the difference. And this is just one marker used layered over each other. This hair is one marker used laid over each other. The dress is obviously different markers. This shadow is a different shade of brown that I used. So that's a different shade. It's not the same brown. And this, we used 3 different markers. So 3 different markers, 3 different markers, 2 different markers, 1, 2, 1, 1. I can't remember, but I think 1. So, I mean, if you're gonna try to buy them, the bigger pack, in my opinion, is the way to go, because you get more for what you're spending as well. And then you're not, oh, well, I don't have another shade of a purple. Well, if you've got a big pack, you do. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed coloring with me. This was fun. And if you get some markers, let me know. And I would love to see your pictures. So I hope you guys have a really great night, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.